classes. We had adult acting classes, whether they were on weekends or in the afternoons. And then we also had opportunities for kids to learn and grow, develop as well. So we were at the Fifth Avenue Theater for quite a while, and really in 2006 is when the ideas started floating about what's next and what's really the future of Lacrosse Community Theater. And LCT, they were in partnership with the City of Lacrosse and the County of Lacrosse to hire arts buyer projects for marketing development study to investigate really the possibility of a new arts complex downtown to provide a larger home to the Lacrosse Community Theater. And over the next years, the running title for a while was the Lacrosse Performing Arts Center, and that was in development, and it became a collaboration piece between the Lacrosse Community Theater and Viterbo University with the Weber Group as well. As you can see, the Weber Center for the Performing Arts is now the name of our building and home to the Lacrosse Community Theater in collaboration with Viterbo University. A lot. But I think that that's what theater is, right? It really encompasses what a collaboration is. So it's a space where we have really 3 different organizations that are inside of it. You have the Lacrosse Community Theater portion, which is homed to the Weber Center, but also is in collaboration with Viterbo University. So we are constantly working out, who's in the space at what time, and trying to program differently for everybody so that we can hit kids that are in preschool and also capture people who are in retirement. And I feel like that's really what this community is. We want to hit every age group and demographic within it, and college as well. So in 2011, we broke ground, and these are some of the photos. This was some of the concept art that was really outside, blocking the river, but I love this photo. In the bottom left for you is there's nothing there but dead trees at the moment. And now you can never see that. It's a huge building. And if you come over, you get to see the beautiful view from the second floor, which I think is amazing. You can see some of our partners who, Don Weber in the corner, and then you have David Kilpatrick as well. And then we have the infamous breaking ground photo, which I think is just incredible, that happened in 2011. Well, as a student, I was a first year student, and I heard of this opportunity, and all of us in the university were super excited. And we're like, yes, we get kind of an off-site place, because at Viterbo, we were kind of limited to the shows that we did. We really tried to do stuff that was in the confines that really would be applicable to that type of community. And so now we were really gonna start reaching out. So what did that mean for us? Well, what's amazing is 2 years later, in 2013, the Weber Center of the Performing Arts was opened. This was the initial team up in that top left corner. And at the time, our artistic director was Greg Parmenter, and our executive director was David Kilpatrick. And Dylan McCardle, who is now the head of the Fine Arts Center at Viterbo University, was our technical director on staff as well. The first production to open was Macbeth, and that is that photo right next to it. And I also wanted to include some of the photos from the gala, because we've had a lot of people who have already performed that on that stage that are on Broadway. One is my friend Jordan, who was, if you were able to see A Funny Thing Happen on the way to the Forum at Viterbo University, he is now in Tina the Musical on Broadway, and has survived throughout the pandemic and still has an amazing job, but he helped open the gala. So I wanted to include him. Also somebody that I think is really important to the history of theater in this area as a whole. In the bottom right corner, you're gonna see a couple of people, and they're holding scissors for the ribbon cutting. One of them is Sister Marie-Leon LaCroix. Sister Marie-Leon LaCroix started the theater program at Viterbo University in 1955. She passed away a couple of years ago, but I think her effects are still here. And I really don't know where theater would be in this area without somebody spearheading it, and that really was the FSPAs. So I think when I think of theater in this area, I associate somebody who pioneered a huge movement like Sister Marie Leon LaCroix. So I did want to give her a shout out because she's huge in everybody's history. You know, she made it into the building in the Fine Arts Center, a pipe dream that they called it for Sister Marie Leon, and look at where we are now. So with that, when we opened the new space at the Weber Center for the Performing Arts, we got 2 additional spaces for LCT as a whole. Before we had a smaller theater, and it was, you know, all proscenium based, and it was one style of theater. Very small dressing room, very small audience, small light plot. Now we have a 450 seat theater. It is called The Licky, and it has a fly system, which means we can move scenery up and down. It's easier access because we have lights that go above there as well, and audio that we can kind of bring in and cable all the way down so that we can kind of easily access all of our lights, all of our sound, and it's also accessible on both floors. So we went from having, you know, a single raked kind of stage to now having a 2-level and orchestra and a balcony style theater. And it also has an orchestra pit. And so it's underneath the stage, which is amazing. So I love it. I got to be in a show called Thoroughly Modern Millie and tap in it, and the poor orchestra pit underneath us, all they could hear was the whole show. But I think it's amazing. There aren't very many orchestra pits, even in town. There are 3 in terms of theater. You have UWL, Viterbo, and now the Weber Center. So we can actually showcase the beautiful instrumentalists in town as well. Then we also have our Veteran Studio Theater. It's a black box theater space. Black box theater still has all the same technical specs, lights, sound, as our Licky theater. The biggest difference is it's multi-purpose and flexible. We can move the seats all around the stage. We can create different entrances and exits, and it really allows for, I would say, directors to have a very creative vision of the script. We typically try to have smaller cast shows in there as well, just so that we can utilize our main stage for much larger productions, like potentially musicals or something like You Can't Take It With You, Noise Is Off, which requires typically a very large set, but it gives us 2 different styles of shows that we can really showcase to the community. And it actually, I think, even in the smaller theater, can be a little bit more risky, right? We have Who's Holiday coming up. I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but it's Cindy Lou Who after she has kind of gone through it. She's now in her she's about 45 years old, and she's retelling like the infamous time the Grinch came down the chimney. She has a cocktail in hand, she smokes cigarettes the whole show. But it's funny, and it's more R-rated, but it's, Stacey Brimmer is playing Cindy Lou. It's a 1-woman show, and it's really, really funny. So, with that being said, we opened our first season when we had Macbeth, but then our first like full season, we had Noise Is Off, which you can see up in this corner with Dominique and Dustin Lukey. Dustin Lukey is the news anchor for WXOW, wonderful, wonderful person. We had 12 Angry Men, as well as, First Lady Suite, which talked about the First Ladies as well. Guys on Ice, and then Miracle on 34th Street, as well as Thoroughly Modern Millie. I'm right there in that bottom photo, and literally just like kneeling right down out front. And I really didn't realize at the time that I was making history in the theater, which is awesome. And I think that that's something really special about this community is this community reaches about 100 miles out. When I look at our patrons who come to the show, we have people who come from Winona, come from Rochester, Viroqua. We recently had somebody who came from Madison to see Blithe Spirit, which is pretty amazing, you know, that a community of 55,000 is really starting to expand its reach and define itself as kind of a cornerstone in the lacrosse community. I will say the next thing that I think we are most proud of at the community theater is we started a partnership with the Penguin Project. The Penguin Project is based out of Illinois, and it is really a modified version of Broadway shows, but these productions are unique because they involve all neurodivergent students and people. So everybody is either in some way, shape, or form has a disability. Whether they are, we've had deaf performers, blind performers, we've had performers who are in wheelchairs, we've had performers that are autistic, have Asperger's syndrome, and they are partnered with peer leaders. So they have somebody who is able-bodied in the community to kind of help them around. It's a 4-month rehearsal process, but this is truly accessible theater. We want everyone to feel like they can come and perform at the Lacrosse Community Theater and have a home. So we are continuing this project this year with Seussical Jr. And so this was our production of Annie Jr. that happened right before really the pandemic happened. And you can see it's a pretty large cast, and we got people from all over. So of course, you know, scheduling is always a challenge, but we want to be able, that's why we make the timeline about 4 months, so that we have all of these students who are able to come in and create and showcase how special and beautiful their art is on our stage. We then had the pandemic year, which was where we did stuff that we've never done before. We did outdoor theater, and we did recorded theater over the radio, which was awesome, and live streamed as well. We also did some readings, stage readings online via Zoom, and really started to do more symposiums with some of our community members as well. These are some pictures from those productions that we did. We did Miracle on 34th Street, and we also did All in the Timing. So All in the Timing was done in a parking lot at Ultra Federal Credit Union, which this is typically a huge show. And so the undertaking and what we did was we tried to keep it family oriented. There are 3 different family groups that were in that show to create that show. So we tried to limit contact and spread at the time so that we could do it. We kept it outdoors because when this happened, we really didn't know a lot of information about what was going on with the pandemic, and safety is our #1 priority at the community theater. And so at the time, this was what we decided to do, and vaccines really weren't a thing yet. But theater still finds a way to stay alive. Our next thing that we created was the Star Academy, and we used to have children's theater programs in the summer where we would do a show that was specific for children's theater that normally happened around June. Well, this is now more of a camp focus. So we have 3 different groups. We have our littles, our 6 to 8-year-olds, there are 3 different 1-week sessions that they can sign up for. They learn all about theater, how to create it, and then they actually create a script with a director, and the director will pretty much stage them, place them everywhere. They will memorize the script, and they will perform it at Friday for their families. It is really incredible, but they're there from 9 to 4. And then after those 3 weeks, we move into our middle school. So then we have ages 9 to 12. And ages 9 to 12, we do the same thing, but we try to make it more long form. So we really expand the script, we really challenge their collaboration skills so that they can present something to their families. I got to work them this summer, and I will tell you, I've never been more terrified of when a 6-year-old, right before a performance, who has used their script the whole time, goes, "I don't need it." And I'm like, "Are you sure? You can use it. I promise you can use the script." And they're like, "Nope." And they're sponges. So their brains are incredible. And so then we actually move into 2 full-length shows. So from ages 13 to 17, we do 2 shows. One that is right now a play, We've been doing Shakespeare, a modified version of it, and they memorize Shakespeare in 3 weeks and perform it. And this year they got to perform it at the band shell, which is another amazing partnership opportunity for us. And then we actually did a musical in 3 weeks called Frozen Junior. And I don't know if any of you got to see it. It was an incredible show, but to stage, choreograph, teach all the music, and find crew for them to be able to put on a show where they feel like it is professional quality shows in 3 weeks is pretty astounding, you know, and it really took a lot of our volunteers, and that's how it was done. But those kids got to perform, they all audition, so they sign up, they do pay for the camp, but really what they do is they make memories, and they learn skills that they can take back to their programs, to wherever high school they go to. In this area, there is only, in at least the Lacrosse and Onalaska area, and even West, so there are 2 schools that do plays, Aquinas and West Salem. This is really a show choir-based town. So a lot of the times they pick a musical and they pick a lot of show choir. So us to do specific titles for plays and musicals that are in the summer where the whole community can come together, I think is really special, because it's the one place where they can connect all over the community. So we finally get to where we are today, and this is our current team that we work with. Our team used to really only be one person. It used to be our managing director, and that was really it, and everybody else is contracted. Now we have an executive director, a director of production, a technical director, you have a director of education and outreach, you have our patron services manager, you also have a director of marketing and public relations, our costume shop supervisor, and we have an audio technician that is always here and on site. So this is our team of 8, and we all wear many different hats to make sure that we can create the productions, because we have a pretty large season. And so the real question is, how do we get to opening night? And if you've been in a show before, you know how much effort and energy it takes to create a production. This is sort of our hierarchy. This is not as clear, but these are all the jobs that you could have in our theater. So we really have the administrative side, and it's really tiny, but if you go over to your left, the director of production, and you see the director, the technical director, you have in a musical potentially 25 different roles that people could have. You could have the music director, the choreographer, you have the stage manager, the props designer, costume designer. So all these different entities are working at the same time to try and create for their opening night. There's always a deadline in theater. And so for us, it's really about how do we get all of these people on the same page to create one single story for 3 weekends. Well, it really starts the season before, when we start to think about shows. So really in October and November, so like right now, we are trying to plan out what the next season is and figure out, okay, what type of shows do we want to program, and who do we want to reach, and what stories do we want to tell? And usually the artistic executive director, Jace, he will go through and try and figure out and program what that is, and figure out what are the things that this community hasn't seen before, and do we have the people and really the technical staff to be able to do it? And right now the answer is yes, we really do have the technical staff to be able to create larger scale shows where you don't have to travel to places like Minneapolis or Madison to see high quality, high production value. And we secure all the rights, so you have to apply to even be able to be given the opportunity to do the show, because there is a number of factors that could change that. If there's a tour going on, you are not allowed to do that show for that season. So if like Beauty and the Beast or Waitress or Rent, things like if Next to Normal were on tour this year, if Mary Poppins were on tour, we would not be able to do any of those shows in our upcoming season. Just because that licensing company does not want to provide us and compete, even though we serve a completely demographic. So that we really announce in April what our season's gonna be, and we say this is the season. We put out a date where people can apply to be directors and designers, and that's really where we start to craft who the team is, and we accept on a rolling basis any of our contracted production positions. And week one, really what happens in week one is initial concepts. The director will talk, and what we want to be able to do as a team is come together and figure out, they've already read the script prior to this meeting. And so usually who's in the room and creates the shows are your executive director, your director of production, your director, your technical director, the person who oversees all the building and the shop, and then our stage manager who organizes all the people and all the ideas and puts them on paper. And then our costume designer, our scenic designer, our lighting designers, our props designer, our sound engineer, our music director, and our choreographer. All those people are in the first meeting. And that usually happens about 3 weeks prior to auditions. Our next one is our design presentations. So a week will go by and all of our designers will start to create and build. They will say, okay, for example, with Sound of Music that's going on right now, they'll present each how they believe the costumes will look, how they believe the lights are gonna look for each of the different scenes, the set. And what the director's job is he really takes a step back and he should know the script kind of like the back of his hand to go, okay, what about this moment? And it's a lot of discussion and collaboration to say, you know, I really don't like the colors of that. Let's try lightening it up. Let's make the set blue and not yellow. And usually they have pages and pages of research that they're presenting. They're like, these are the colors, these are the textiles that were used, this is the fabric. And you can see a rendering of one of the sets we've had. And so that's all made out of paper. And so some people do it digitally now, that's like the new way to do it, but for a long time it was shadow boxed. So they literally had like a shoebox, and then they would create the set and show how everything moved using just like little popsicle sticks, how stuff moved on and off, where it came from. And so then we really get into what I like to call the director's blessing. So once the director has said, yes, this is a design, I approve these designs, then really the next week construction on all of this can begin. So this is also where the next week is auditions. So this normally happens 3 weeks prior to the auditions. We are really in communication about what is the overall concept and what is the world that the actors are gonna live in. Are we gonna set it post-apocalyptic? You know, or are we gonna do it traditionally, how the story is supposed to be told? And so we get the director's blessing, and then we finalize what the audition process is gonna look like for the community, for our actors. Now we start to get into the audition season. So auditions are, I think, the most exciting for the whole team because it's really where we get to see all of you. We get to see everyone who comes in from the community, and our community spans elementary, middle, high school, college, somebody who could work at Quick Trip during the whole day, and somebody that could work at Train, you know, the single mom, you know, stay-at-home mom, single dad, and then we get to really figure out who can tell the stories of these characters that we want to have. And so Monday and Tuesday we'll audition. Right now it's all virtual sign up, so we'll have people sign up for audition slots, that way we know when people are going to be there. Then the next day we'll do callbacks, and callbacks are a more in-depth reading of the moment. So it will actually take from the script a character and have them read a scene, they'll be taught a song, and they'll be taught some dancing, so that we can say, yep, you are certainly gonna be this character. That way the director has no doubt in his mind that he or she has made the correct decision. And really by the end of the week is when we reach out to the cast and we provide contracts and we say, congratulations, this is what you're cast as, we're gonna send you a contract for you to sign. They'll sign a contract, and then we normally announce it on Friday. So normally our casting announcements are done by Friday, so we know everything. We know who is in the show, we know who's been working on the show, and we have a list of all their conflicts, because we're all people first before we're performers, right? We all have families, we all have other obligations, and so we want to figure out how do all the puzzle pieces go together. Like Sound of Music, there are 29 people. So we are working with 29 actor schedules plus the entire production team schedules to figure out how do we all come together and how do we creatively use our time during a pandemic to where we are limiting contact, to where we are making sure we are able to still tell the full story. Then we really get into rehearsal week 1, and week 1, Monday, we really like to go over things like the code of conduct. It is really important that people understand what our brand is at the Lacrosse Community Theater and what the expectation is in terms of being a part of a theater. We want to make sure it's a safe, welcoming environment for everyone. And that they understand if there are challenges, who they need to go to, what the reporting structure is, and that way it's just it blends a little bit of that corporate mindset, but as a business, you want to protect everyone who is in your building. You want to protect all the community members, and you ultimately want everybody to have fun and have a good time. And I think that way is being very upfront about what the expectations are in terms of how you talk to each other and how we collaborate as a team. Tuesday and Wednesday, we do read through, we do sing through the show. That way we are just as a group coming together to just feel out initially what it is so that we have a baseline of what this show is gonna start at. Then usually a Thursday music rehearsal, Friday we will review. Then really the next few weeks we are working to put the show up together. So the next 4 weeks, we have rehearsal normally from 6 to 10. The music director, usually he'll teach all the music during week 2 and week 3, and we'll review in weeks 4 and week 5. And then usually by week 6, they are off book, meaning there is no script. You are on stage by yourself and it's all in here. And you are able to call a line, and the stage manager will feed you your lines so that we can feel what it's like to not be restricted like this. And that way you can connect with your fellow actor as well. Choreography, usually they will teach those dance numbers weeks 3, weeks 4, and they'll clean them up in week 5. They'll rehearse them throughout, but it's important to get the music down first. The quicker you are off book with music, because it's a different muscle group than speaking, we can really start to focus on what the story is, and your body builds that muscle memory. And then the director will start to block scenes kind of intermittently. Sometimes we'll be in different spaces, sometimes there will be a music rehearsal happening, a staging rehearsal happening, and a small choreography number happening, all in 3 different spaces within our classroom at the Weber Center. And then week 6, we really start to put everything together. We start running the show in sequence. We'll start with act 1, we'll make sure it's all off book, we'll drill it. It's like flashcards, except they're acting in your mind. And your other flashcard is your acting partner. And usually, throughout for the production team, they're creating the whole set. So down below in our scene shop, everything is being built is being, we will have volunteer carpenters who will help to cut out pieces of the set. We'll have people who start to paint the set. Teresa, who is our costume shop supervisor, will have groups of women come in and sew and hand make a lot of the costumes. We are hand making most of the costumes for the sound of music. So it is just the kids alone, it's 118 costumes that are being made in a 6-week period, and that's just for 7 characters. So it's all about being efficient and managing your time, and all of our technical staff are really good at that. That's what they went to school for, and that's what they kind of know. So what they bring to the table is really amazing. And then by week 7, this is really our first time we get on the stage. So this whole time we have not been on the Licky Center stage. We've been rehearsing elsewhere. So you really only have 2 weeks on the stage, and you respace the show. You make sure that everyone knows what their blocking is now, because it may have been done in a smaller space before. So you want to spread everybody out again and give breath. Because as soon as you move actors and a team from one area to another, it's normally this. Oh no. And it's like, breathe, it's okay, we've got you. And we have something called load-in. So load-in is where everything that's being built normally is stored either in the back in our scene shop, in our black box, and then we will call volunteers, or the team will come in, and it's really a all hands on deck moment where we install the set, make sure it is, so really we're hoping by like Tuesday, it's fully functional for the actors so that they have the most amount of time to be able to use the set. Because nothing is scarier as an actor whenever you don't know what your world looks like on stage. And so the quicker we can get all the technical elements down that week, the quicker the actors feel more comfortable and more safe to be able to continue to play. Because if there's no door for an entrance and the whole thing is revolving around this door gag, you're not practicing it. And we want to be able to practice what it would really look like in front of a performance as quickly as possible. And that whole week they're really working. Sometimes we'll do what we call a sits probe, which is a sing through of the whole show if we have an orchestra. That way we can get the orchestra and the performers on the same page with tempos, everything. So even during this week, they may not run the show fully, maybe 2 of the days out of the week. So usually it's really trying to piece everything together so that by Sunday of week 8, this is what we call Tech Week. So that Sunday, usually everybody's there from 10 o'clock until 10 o'clock. It is a long day. It's what we call cue to cue, and we go literally every time the lights change, every time an actor enters or exits, every time a prop moves on and off stage, every time that there's a sound cue. It's a lot of stop and go. So we will the actors won't do everything in full, but it's just for the tech. And this is where our crew comes together. So all of our volunteers who work backstage, who work with costume changes, set changes, our lightboard operator, our soundboard operator, everyone who works in the back. And it's really getting our stage manager to be able to call the show and say, okay, light Q1, stand by, light Q1, go. That way, everything is sort of seamless and happens all at once. But this is the day where that happens. So we go cue by cue by cue, and this really isn't for the actors necessarily. This is mainly for the technical team to be able to be like, okay, this is how the show looks, and now the stage manager is going to call it. And so we'll set things like light levels. We'll make sure that all the microphones and the sound cues are set to the correct volume, because all of that really changes once we have an audience. So we usually like to have an initial level, and then we, throughout the week, figure out how we're gonna fine tune and tweak. But Sunday is usually the hardest day, and it's the most challenging day. We do feed the actors, I promise, and the crew. Monday we'll do a full run with no costumes, no makeup, no hair. But our actors are normally called at 5:30, our crew is called at 6, our musicians will be called at 6, and then we'll typically try to run at 7, even though we normally run at 7:30, just in case, so we can do some notes afterwards and provide direction. If something went wrong, we can say, hey, that entrance is actually over here. And they'll be like, oh, okay, I got it, perfect. That way, it just is about safety and traffic patterns, really, and about making sure the moments are crafted so that the audience has that reaction in that moment. Tuesday, we'll add the costumes, the hair, and the makeup. Still the same call times. Wednesday, we'll do a full run. So this week, we really only do 2 full runs with costumes. And then we have an audience on Thursday. We have what we call our senior preview. And sometimes it is seniors, but also we reach out to some disenfranchised and marginalized communities as well. So we want to be able to provide access for tickets for some of our patrons who may or may not ever have the opportunity to pay $35 for a ticket. We reach out to the Boys and Girls Club to see if they are able to come and want to come and be able to be here and see high quality, high shows too, because we want them to be able to come to our programming as well and be able to see some really great work. And really, on Thursday, the director is done with the show. After that, the director is done. It is the stage manager show. The stage manager calls everything, and throughout this whole process, the stage manager communicates everything that's happening, whether it's rehearsal schedules, whether it's call times, whether it's an accident report. Your stage manager is the glue of this team. And then by Friday we have opening night, and then we have Saturday and Sunday performances. The next week, which is our performance week 2, we typically right now aren't having a Wednesday, what we call a pickup, but because we do have understudies for The Sound of Music due to COVID-19, we may have what we call put-in rehearsal, where we work in our understudies who have been really diligently learning the parts off, and in rehearsals have been switching on and off, and now they have a performance that second weekend, so we probably will do a put-in rehearsal where they have a full run of the show as that character for the first time with all the lights, sound, and everything, because they'll have performances that weekend as well. Then we have our last weekend of shows. We may have another pick-in or put up in case something were to happen. If somebody gets sick, we want to make sure that we have somebody ready to go on stage. And then we also have all of our performances Thursday through Sunday. And then the biggest thing that happens is strike, and this is where we take down the whole set and all of our hard work. So usually there's a lot of tears, but it's all the set comes down, all the lights get reset, all the sound equipment gets put away, because sometimes on Monday we have another group coming in. And so we have to make sure that the space looks like nobody was in it. So we have an off-site warehouse where we have storage, so we'll bring a lot of stuff there as well. But normally it's a fun time, but it's I think the saddest time for everybody, because you get your post-show depression is what we call it. Because you miss the moments you've crafted. You just had 12 performances where you got to create, and now it's all done. So, and that's only for one show. And normally we have another show running with it, which is our black box shows, which is pretty much the same process. No music director, no choreographer typically, and it's 2 weeks shorter. And those processes are overlapping. So you have 2 builds happening for costumes, 2 builds happening for set, all at the same time. So there's plenty of, if anybody would like to volunteer, there are plenty of opportunities for you to come out and help. So that really leads us to where we are today, and we have an amazing season for you. We have 4 different seasons. We have our Black Box series, which includes Blight Spirit, The Sound of Music, The Mountaintop, which is a first for our area. It's our first all-black show. in the area, and it's a fictional retelling of the night before Martin Luther King Jr. died. And so it's an amazing opportunity that we're going to be able to show with the community. It's never happened in this area before, so we're really excited to bring a more diverse story range. We have Next to Normal, and then we have our first summer show for adults, which is Avenue Q. And so, a couple of things, just little blurbs about each of them. We really are trying to build diversity, so we program shows that include a wide range of ethnicities and sexual orientations and people who are neurodivergent, because really we want to showcase all of our community. Now we have our Black Box series, and this year it's Women's Voices. We really like to have a focus of the season. So all women directors and 75% women cast. So, which is amazing. So Who's Holiday, we have Night Mother, we have Single Black Female, which will be our first all Black female show in our Black Box. And then we have Lizzie, which is a musical, and it's a retelling of the Lizzie Borden story. And it's a pop rock, like 80s kind of genre for women. It's really cool. We then have our Theater for Young Audiences series. This is new as well. This is where we're gonna actually bring in tours of, for the youth to really see. It is really for kids who are in elementary school, and it's all classic and contemporary children's literature brought to life. So it's short form, 45 to 60 minutes, where it's pretty interactive, but it allows for kids to have their first real taste of theater, and it's high quality. We really wanted to make sure that we are providing high quality first experiences for some of our youth in the area, because if they've never seen theater, there's a lot to learn, whether it's theater etiquette, and we really want them to be able to be like, oh my gosh, I read Pete the Cat, and now I see Pete the Cat on stage. And each of them has a different kind of focus, whether it's about self-esteem or about STEAM. So you have Rosie Revere, the engineer, Pete the Cat, Have You Filled Your Bucket Today, and the Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales. We also have our Star Academy series going on as well in the summer, and that includes our Penguin Project with Seussical Jr. We are doing Avenue Q, the school edition. So what's really cool is we're gonna have our adults doing Avenue Q, which is a puppet show. It's like an adult Sesame Street. Pretty raunchy, but really funny. And then there's a kids version that's really modified and takes out a lot of that humor, but replaces it with humor that is appropriate for ages 13 to 17. And they're gonna be using the same set, same puppets. So they're gonna be able to pretty much walk into a professional production and learn puppetry, choreography, blocking, and music in 3 weeks. And be able to put on a show for the community. And we're gonna be doing As You Like It, the teen edition, as well, so another Shakespeare as well. So really, without all of you, we wouldn't have this theater. As you can see, it's come pretty far from just having maybe four shows a season to now having 21 different things happening, and we're programming with Viterbo, so you have Viterbo who comes in our space that we share as well, and we have contracted artists from the Weber Center, things like Lori Line, that are all coming into this one singular area, and this is just the Lacrosse Community Theater version side of view. So without our patrons, we wouldn't have theater today in this area without your support. The Lacrosse Community Theater is in the process of really defining itself as a cornerstone of the Cooley region. And so we are expanding our reach continually, and we hope to see you whether you are attending the show or volunteering. There is a home for everyone in the theater, and we really hope to see you there. So thank you all so much, and if you have any questions, I'll bring the microphone around to you. Yes?
When is some music?
That's an excellent question. So it is starting December 2nd, and then it runs the following 2 weekends after that. I'd get your tickets soon. We are starting to sell out. shows, which is amazing. So please, please, please get your tickets. Yes?
How do you find out about volunteer opportunities for the show's ushering?
Yes, absolutely. So on our website, lacrossetheater.org, there is a section for volunteers. You can also email info@lacrossetheater.org, or you can talk to me after. I'll gather your contact info and I can forward it to the correct party for whoever you are interested in, whether it's ushering, whether it's costume, scenic build, anything. If you want to do props and build props for a show, you want to work backstage, I have all those opportunities. You're interested in acting, and I can let you know about all those auditions as well. They are posted on our website, but I can definitely connect you to the correct people. Yes?
Do you know how you would be able to purchase the senior preview ticket? Where you would go, what did you?
Yes, so I would call our box office between 3 and 5. Our phone number is on our website. I also do have it memorized, 608-782. I lied to you. I don't have it memorized. But you are more than welcome to go online, or you can give me your name and I can have, if you're a patron, I can have our box office manager reach out to you as well. Yes?
When someone comes to audition, do they say, I want to be in the chorus, or I want such and such? How do you determine what part they're going to get?
Excellent, that's an excellent question. We usually on all of our audition forms ask what they are, what you're interested in. If it's just chorus, or if you're interested in a named part. We do usually have what the requirements are about 4 weeks in advance, whether it's you need to memorize 16 bars of a Golden Age song, or some people in the theater world are like, oh, I have that already ready. And some people are like, I've never been on stage before. And if you've never been on stage before, that's okay. Show up, we'll have you sing Happy Birthday. We just wanna know if you can match pitch, have fun, and get to know you in that moment. It really isn't, we don't want it to be scary, because we really want to broaden our reach. So we want to be able to provide first acting opportunities as well as seasoned acting opportunities for everyone. But thank you for your question. Any other questions? Yes?
You said that you kind of connect with all the other theaters in town.
Yes.
I'm a big Christmas person.
Yes.
I think there should be a Christmas show that I can go to somewhere in town. And do you coordinate that so not everybody's, I think somebody should do a Christmas show, but so not everybody's doing the traditional films.
Yeah, I think part of my job as outreach and education really right now is to figure out how to bring people together. I know as a business and as a theater, we really want to have Christmas specific. We've done stuff like Elf before. We were gonna do White Christmas prior to the pandemic, but a lot of the schools in town have all their Christmas concerts, so you're fighting with a lot of different schedules to be able to tell one story. I would love a Christmas play in town. I know the Pump House has talked about wanting to do that, and I personally would love to do something more outreach-wise in the community that is very Christmas specific, where Lacrosse is actually, LCT is moving outside of its walls and being able to reach diverse communities and be able to travel. And so I think that would be awesome. I would love to put together a piece that can kind of move around, and whether it goes to the schools, comes here, goes, downtown and performs at the band shell, goes to the Pump House, and you can kind of pick which is more of your crowd. Definitely in development though. Thank you for that, because it's coming. Any other questions? Well, thank you all very much.